I'm Steve Ledoux, Town Manager here in Acton, and welcome to the Acton Agenda. This is a show about the upcoming Selectmen's meeting, which in this case will be Monday night, September 19th at 7 p.m. In room 204 of Town Hall. With me this evening, I guess, is Katie Green. Katie is just the past chair of the Board of Selectmen and is in her second term. So welcome, Katie. And so I guess we'll just start talking about some of the agenda items.
All right. Thanks, Steve. Yeah, the first item up is actually that the Selectmen are going to have an executive session at 6:30 p.m. to discuss strategy with respect to litigation. So the executive sessions are times when just the Board of Selectmen meet, and there's sort of a set of criteria under which we can have those, one of those involving litigation. So I don't know if there's much more you can say.
Well, just that this is a strategy session. We are involved in a litigation regarding the use of community preservation funds that have funded a couple church projects in town for historic preservation. So the board will be talking about legal strategies as it relates to that. The plaintiffs in this matter, Americans United for Separation of Church and State, are seeking to get an injunction to prohibit the town from distributing the money to the two churches, to the First Parish Church in Town Center and then the South Acton Church.
And then after that at 7 p.m. we'll open our regular session and start as always with citizens' concern, which is where we ask any citizens to speak on issues that aren't otherwise on our agenda. And then an update from the chair, Peter Barry, followed by an update from you, the town manager, and then we'll jump right into our public hearings. And our first public hearing on Monday night is at 7:15 p.m. and it's related to a gas main installation from National Grid. These are fairly standard, but could you talk a little bit about this one in particular?
And first of all, just for viewers to know that any time a utility wants to dig or put a structure in the town right-of-way, they need to get permission from the Board of Selectmen, and that triggers a public hearing. In this case, National Grid wishes to install about 190 feet of 2-inch gas line on Pope Road to bring gas service to a house at number 34, I believe, 34 Pope Road. So the board will have a public hearing here. If there's any objections, then we'll make a decision on whether they want to allow that installation to happen in the town right away.
And like I said, these are fairly standard. However, we have had a few citizens, members of Green Acton and other citizens in town recently bring up some concerns related just not to the specific projects, but to expanding the use of natural gas in general. And so they've asked us to not deny this permit in particular, but to think more long-term about any policies around providing or extending natural gas installations in town. So I think that's something we'll discuss sort of in conjunction with this hearing, and about whether or not the town and the Board of Selectmen want to have a discussion at probably one of our future meetings and think about a policy around natural gas installations.
Correct. And a lot of times natural gas has become more and more controversial. There was the proposed pipeline going through Massachusetts. There's the whole issue of fracking and whether that's environmentally damaging or not. So there's a lot of issues floating around natural gas.
Right. Yeah, big in the news lately. Correct. So, and then hopefully that, we generally only budget a little bit of time for those. So at 7:20 is the next public hearing, which is an alleged over-service at the Red Raven. And there's a note here as well that we may need to enter into executive session if we need to review the physical condition of a person, which means if they had video at the restaurant that we would need to view. So these alleged over-services are that the Board of Selectmen is sort of the commissioners of our liquor licenses in town. And so if there's an incident where somebody was accused, if we think a restaurant may have overserved somebody, that restaurant has to appear before us. Do you want to speak about the specifics of this one?
Well, basically the specifics, this is an incident that occurred in July of this year. It's alleged that the individual who may have been overserved was involved in a property auto damage accident in Nagog Mall by the Red Raven. So the board will hear some testimony from the investigating police officer probably have the bartender or whoever was serving the individual. And as you said, we don't know if there's video at this point, but if there is video, because of some privacy issues, the board would watch the video to see if they could observe the person being served, see if they demonstrated any evidence of being inebriated and still being served and things like that. So don't know where we're going to go yet, but the board needs to try to weigh all the facts and then make a decision.
Right. Again, these are legal hearings, so really we have to gather sort of the facts before us, through the testimony of the police officers that were involved in the arrest, through testimony of hopefully the bartender on duty that night, as you mentioned, any receipts or other evidence that we have, and then there are, again, sort of strict rules under which we have to make a finding and about whether or not the bartender actually, even if somebody is pulled over and was intoxicated under the law, we have to make a separate finding that they were overserved. So even if they were caught drunk while driving, that's not necessarily an overservice. So we have to take all that under consideration. And those can take some time, but hopefully not too long. So after that, we'll get into selectmen's business. We can kind of take these in any order, but the first one on our agenda is the selectmen to take position on warrant articles and assign selectmen representatives. And this is related to the upcoming special town meeting on October 5th. And I believe the warrant is fairly well set now.
Correct.
And there'll be a draft that the Finance Committee has reviewed and that we'll see. Do you want to talk about some of the articles that we have on there?
Sure. There are actually 12 articles, and the selectmen, as you say, will be taking positions and probably determine which one of the selectmen may be making a presentation on the articles for town meeting. So the first two articles will relate, and I should say for the viewers, we're going to be doing a series of some smaller TV shows probably in another week or so that will get into more detail on these warrant articles and have more of a presentation. But just kind of in a nutshell, first two articles are proposed by the new town moderator, Peter Acton. One would change the town bylaws to allow for an assistant moderator to be appointed. So if the moderator has a conflict of interest or he's ill or cannot be at a town meeting, we wouldn't necessarily have to vote a temporary moderator every time that may happen. So that would streamline it. The second article would allow for electronic voting on certain warrant articles. Those are little handheld devices that pretty much instantaneously can count votes. I think those who go to town meeting realize sometimes it's very difficult to determine if an article passes, particularly if an article needs a 2/3 vote to pass. Certain things like borrowing money, purchasing
Zoning.
land, zoning changes all take 2/3 votes, and sometimes it's very difficult, and sometimes you have to count everybody by standing, et cetera. So this would speed that process up. And it wouldn't be used on every vote because sometimes, it's very obvious things have passed, but it would speed up any time there'd have to be a count, or you can't really tell if something passed or not. Then we have a couple more articles. One article would be to fund a collective bargaining agreement that we have just entered into with the fire union. One of the main features of this agreement, and once again we'll be getting into more detail when we do a special show on this, is to implement advanced life support or paramedic service, which basically means that we will be bringing paramedics onto the department and running a paramedic service that enables our employees to do more sophisticated things in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. They can run certain lines and use certain kind of drugs that a regular basic EMT cannot. So in terms of a settlement, that was one of the features. We'll be talking about the financial implications of that at the TV show. Another article will authorize and appropriate funds for the town to enter into a 10-year lease for a new senior center located, or proposed location, at 30 Sudbury Road. It will require some appropriation for lease for this, the balance of this fiscal year. And the company that has been chosen as the successful responder came in at $8.97 a square foot, and that's for a 10-year lease with no inflationary factors on the lease itself. So that will be a discussion as well. We have a land purchase, a proposed land purchase at 53 River Street, some may know as Lazaro property, where the Lazaro company has run a paving operation for greater than 30 years. We're still sorting out how we're going to finance that. We'll have a detailed plan for the selectmen on Monday night as to what the staff's recommendation is on financing. Another article involves the purchase of a property off of Piper Lane. I'm not sure we're going to be moving forward on that. We do not have any type of purchase and sale. And after that, there's a series of 5 zoning articles, all pretty much minor. I'm not really too up on some of the details, so I don't think I want to dwell on it right now. But in essence, there'll be 12 articles to
And the last one you left off is the lease of the
that's right.
Kennedy.
Sorry about that.
We have, when we purchased at special town meeting about a year ago, or authorized the funds a year ago, and purchased it in January-ish of this year, the 348 to 364 Main Street, which is also known as the Walker property, and Kennedy Landscaping had a lease there, and we're continuing that lease. And because it's a lease on public property, town meeting has to approve that. So that'll be the 12th, or don't know the order of it, but that is the one of the 12.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very good. Okay, so we will take positions on those. Finance Committee, I think they've heard them. I don't know that they've taken positions.
Finance Committee has had a presentation on the collective bargaining agreement with fire and the senior center lease. They will be meeting the night of the 20th to take positions.
Okay, excellent. The next one, number 4 on our agenda, is the sewer fee privilege extension on payment request for 248 High Street. And again, the Board of Selectmen are also the sewer commissioners, so we deal with sewer issues as well. So could you explain a little bit what this is?
Sure. And first of all, 248 High Street is a 40B that the board had a presentation on a few months ago. Generally, a sewer privilege fee, which in essence is kind of a fee for the privilege of tying into a sewer, I guess, for lack of a better term. Generally, it's required that the privilege fee be paid upon application of the building permit. Because this is a 40B and we'll be dealing with affordable housing, the request is for the board to extend the payment until occupancy permits are in place. It's not something too unusual, and there's really not necessarily any downside on our part. So, it's staff's recommendation that the board, as the sewer commissioners, agree to this.
Okay. Number 5 is the selectmen to sign a date on a license suspension for Red, White, and Brew. I believe it was our August meeting. We had a hearing similar to sort of the over-service hearing, except that this was for a package store. They have a liquor license for selling liquor, and they were found to be guilty of selling to underage persons. And so we suspended their license for a day, but I guess at the time did not actually pick a specific day on which that should happen. And so it's a recommendation of the town manager and town council that we select an actual date for that suspension.
Correct.
And that would just be one day where they are not allowed to sell liquor.
That's correct.
And again, we do these not to be punitive, but because there are serious public safety issues, and when somebody is found of violating their liquor license in this way, there are a variety of potential sort of actions we can take, and we felt that this was a serious enough one that suspending it for one day would sort of hopefully be a reminder for the business owner that they need to take this license seriously. Number 6 is the selectmen to authorize the town manager to sign a purchase and sale agreement for 52 River Street. We covered this a little bit when we talked about the Warren articles. This is the Lazaro property. Right. And I don't know if there's anything you want to add here.
No, I guess the only thing to mention is that the agreed to price is $875,000. The PNS, the purchase and sale, that if the selectmen authorized me to sign, would be contingent upon town meeting acceptance, and because it is a land acquisition, it would be a 2/3 vote of town meeting.
Okay. Unfortunately, we will not have voted electronic voting.
No, we will
by
not have
that
electronic
time.
voting that night.
So I might have voted it before, but we don't have it voted that night. So we'll have to do the old-fashioned voice vote or standing vote. Number 5 is interesting. This should be number 7. Is request for use of town seal by the Acton Boxborough Rotary Clubs. I believe they had approached us about using the town seal on some of their materials.
Correct, and there's a state law, obscure as it may be, that any time a town seal is going to be used for commercial reasons or any other reason, the Board of Selectmen need to approve it, because while we don't have a copyright law, the seal is a symbol of the formal town government. So the board is being asked to consider requesting or consider to allow the use on some of the Rotary Club correspondence and things like that.
Yeah, I think, like you said, it's not a patent or copyright or anything, but it is sort of a representation of the town. So it makes sense for us to kind of talk about that, who can use it. What should be labeled number 8 is a discussion on the town hall paint color. So at last year's annual town meeting, we authorized funding for repainting town hall, and there was some discussion about whether it should be painted white or whether we're open to going back to historic colors or other colors. So at the time when we presented this article, we said we would have a forum. We held a forum a few weeks ago in August to discuss sort of the historic colors and why municipal buildings and buildings of this era, the era of Town Hall, were painted the colors that they were. And now the Board of Selectmen has to discuss, because we went out to bid on the paint, and there were one bidder that was lower for painting it white and another bidder that was lower for painting it color. So we have to kind of make that decision and then select the bidder.
Right. When we put it out to bid, we bid the color, the kind of historic color as the bid, and then asked bidders to do an alternate bid for white only. So white is somewhat cheaper because it doesn't involve mixing paint and things like that. So both bids, be it color or be it white, came in under our estimate that we brought to town meeting. So that's the good news. Whatever we decide will be coming in under budget. So it's really a matter of, do we want to keep the traditional white, which I guess has been traditional for probably 100+ years, or look at the more early historic colors, which I guess are two. One's kind of a yellow and one's kind of a beige.
Yeah, it's more of a, well, the historical colors is presented, and Andrea, the municipal properties director, will be bringing in sort of a mock-up, as well as she's got some boards painted in the colors.
Well, we're going to try to do, I don't know if we're going to be able to do it, but have a PowerPoint where we kind of Photoshop the colors on the town hall. I'm not 100% sure where they're doing it.
Yeah. And it's sort of a beigeish color for the main part, a darker color for those corner boards, and then actually a dark green for the shutters, which it looked quite nice together at the presentation. And we learned why things were painted white, and it was sort of going back to this Grecian idea of marble and other such looks, and then why they were painted, the more muted colors was more to fit in with nature and things like that. So it's really quite interesting. And then there's one more item, which will be to take for the Board of Selectmen to take a position on the September 20th vote on the Minuteman Technical High School building project. And that vote, as I mentioned, is on Tuesday, the 20th, so the day after our meeting. And because of a obscure state law, unfortunately, votes on regional schools the polls can only be opened for a total of 8 hours in one day, which is fewer than the normal 13 that were normally open. So the district had set the polling hours from 12 to 8 p.m. in all the towns, and only one polling location will be open. So in Acton, that is the junior high. So every precinct, even if you're like me and you normally vote at Conant, you'll go to the junior high and you have to vote sort of after work, between 12 and 8.
Yeah, and some people have asked, well, how come there's only one polling place? And because this is exclusively for Minuteman, they're paying actually for the election, and they basically told all the towns they only pay for one polling place.
Right.
So I know that some other towns, I know Concord, for example, is meeting at the voting at the Harvey Wheeler Center, which is where their senior center is. And I think it's going to be a little unusual.
Yes.
I think the time is going to be probably difficult for some folks. You know, some folks like to vote first thing in the morning. I like to vote first thing in the morning. It's going to be a little weird.
Little different, but
Yeah.
hopefully we'll get a better turnout than we did for the odd primary on a Thursday. Again, that vote, it was passed at 15 of the 16 town meetings, but because Belmont, one of the towns, voted down, we're going to the district-wide vote. And Acton Town Meeting did vote overwhelmingly in support of this project, and hopefully that will be, personal opinion, hopefully it will be reflected at the polls, and we'll discuss the Board of Selectmen's cumulative opinion on Monday night.
Exactly.
So those are the main items on our agenda. Then we go into what we call our consent agenda. We do this every meeting, and similarly have this at a town meeting where there's sort of the articles or the issues that are generally considered non-controversial. And so we just read through these. If a selectman has a question or concerns with one of them, he or she can hold it and pull it off the consent agenda and discuss it separately. And otherwise, we vote them as sort of one block, having read the materials on them before. So I'll read through that quickly, and we can pull out any that might need some explanation. So item, I think what will be renumbered 9, is the site plan special permit amendment number 04/22/2016-462. The next item is the right of first offer agreement on, I should have practiced my pronunciation of all of these beforehand, but the Chabad Center of Acton at 148 Great Road. The next one is a committee appointment. This is where we have to appoint members to all of the various boards and committees in town. For Diana Nestorova to the Acton Box Row Cultural Council. We have a committee appointment of David Martin to the MBTA Advisory Board. An Eagle Scout Court of Honor for Jack Lanzin Maddox on October 15th, 2016. This is where the Board of Selectmen usually sends one representative to each Eagle Scout Court of Honor to recognize the Eagle Scout and provide them with a certificate and an Isaac Davis medallion. I believe I'm assigned to this one, although I believe I actually have a conflict, so we will discuss that either beforehand or on the night of. The following one is a one-day alcoholic beverage license. This is where people can get just a one-day license to serve alcohol. This is for Marcia L. Anderson at Nara Park on October 15th, 2016. We've got a couple of these. We've got a one-day alcoholic beverage license for Michaela Moran on October 1st, 2016. I think this is usually related to their event at the Hosmer House or the Faulkner?
I think it's the Jones Tavern.
The Jones Tavern, okay. One of the historic buildings.
Right.
We've got a one-day alcoholic beverage license for Natalia Komarovskaya for the Nagog Woods, I apologize for that pronunciation, for the Nagog Woods Clubhouse on November 19th, 2016. A one-day alcoholic beverage license for Patricia Connolly of Nagog Woods Clubhouse, October 22nd, 2016. A one-day alcoholic beverage license for Mary Doherty of at Nara Park on October 2nd, 2016. And again, if you would like a one-day alcoholic beverage license, you can get the application in the town manager's office, and just make sure you do it a few weeks. You really want to do it a few weeks in advance, because it has to be vetted and then go before the Board of Selectmen, and sometimes there's a lag in between our meetings if there's a holiday or other reasons. So you can see some of these are a bit further out, but that's because these people are on top of their game, so it's very good. There's a request for a waiver of town fees for Ironwork Farm, and then we'll approve some meeting minutes for the meetings on May 23rd and July 18th, 2016. Accept gifts for the Natural Resources Department, a gift of $212 from Eric Liu, one of our Eagle Scouts, for his Eagle Scout project fundraiser that can be used towards the future trail maintenance projects. And a lot of times Eagle Scouts do fundraisers to pay for their projects, and then when there's leftover funds, they'll donate them to the town. So it's really a great great partnership. And then the final one is pretty much always on there, the request to dispose of obsolete materials for the Acton Memorial Library. And then there's also a note that our selectmen reports, which are each of the selectmen are liaisons to the various committees. Example, I'll be at the Acton Bucksburg Regional School Committee meeting tonight. We type up a report just to say, what's happening with our liaison committees and share that in our packet, and all of the selectmen can read it to see what's going on with the other boards and committees in town. And I think that just about covers it.
That's it. Well, thank you, Katie. Appreciate you coming on. Once again, we're talking about the Selectmen's meeting of this coming Monday, the 19th. We didn't have any questions from our viewers this time, but just as a reminder, if you have any questions you want to ask myself or one of the Selectmen, we'll always have a Selectman on the show, you can email questions to questions@ActonTV, that's one word, actontv.org, or you can tweet questions to @ActonTV1. So once again, thank you, Katie, and thank you for watching. And once again, the Selectmen's meeting is Monday night, September 19th at 7 p.m. in room 204 of Town Hall. Thank you.